Hello. We are continuing. Oh, it's quite safe finishing, but pretty close to finishing this Knight Tyrant. And as you can see, my stuff showed up from Amazon today on time for me to get my grubby hands on it before this stream. Tonight I was very much hoping to get some grime work done. So it looks like that is in the cards. I've never used this stuff before, at least the streaking effects part of it. So that will be new. Put that X-Acto away so I don't carve myself to pieces and use other effects. I do have these two green brushes out. I know everyone says you're not supposed to use brushes, but my green brushes are specifically for combat duty. They're pretty durable. They get the living daylights kicked out of them. And they're green, so I know when I pick one up that I'm not going to use it for brushing decent paint on stuff. These get treatment on basing material, a different AK product that I've used pretty extensively on my Death Guard, which is Slimy Grime Dark, which I'm thinking you can actually neutral spirit away as well. I just laid that stuff on heavy for a lot of stuff. But anyhow, there's not really a good picture on here, but this is Streaking Grime. I'm going to use that. I might try some rust streaks. Winter Streaking Grime is like more of this sort of grayish kind of color. I'm going to set that aside. I don't think I want to go too nuts using 8 million different things. So I'll just hide stuff down here. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I also got some odorless thinner, which is mineral spirits. So I'll use some of that. I do have to figure out what to put this stuff in, or do I just go straight from the bottle? Champ. Let's just carve that guy open. And I do have a hefty supply of Q-tips. I'm going to use Q-tips to take with the mineral spirits because I don't want to take off too much paint and stuff along the way. Just click a couple things real fast. Do one of these. Do one of those. I think we are good to go. I'm going to have a sip of tea. That's always helpful. And a quick puff. And we'll start getting down to business. All right, so set that aside. That's for step 2. I have my phone out somewhere so I can set a timer on it. It says on AK's website you should leave the streaky stuff on for like 10 or 15, 20 minutes. I've heard a lot of people say, read, that people are like, it can stay on longer, but I'm going to try to do it by the books. That'll obviously be dependent on how fast I go. Okay, so that doesn't have a separate little layer in it, nor does this, I presume. So we'll go on with a brush, off with a Q-tip. Oh yeah, that stuff looks mad gross. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I'm hoping this goes well. It's a lot of real estate on this model that I would prefer not to ruin, but if I do, like, so be it. Pull this boy into the camera shot here. Move my cameras around a little bit so I'm getting a sense of that. I'll break his weapons off because they're attached with magnets. Yeah. This I tried a little bit of glow effect. I'll have to clean that thing up a little bit. It's a little scarfy looking. The little side orbs are good. I didn't want to go with a green or an orange or a blue. So I feel good about that. This guy got similar, did some different treatment on different sections of metal. I wanted it to stay metally but look pretty grimy. I think I accomplished that there. I ripped these guys off. I don't think they'll need any streaking effects on them. So then, just to kind of go over stuff that happened last time, I was getting a little worried about how monotonous the back here was looking. The last time around, I used Typhus Corrosion and Rise of Rust, which are 2 of my absolute favorite materials, and I overused them all the time. I used a little bit of restraint. But you can see, obviously, this section here, man, typhus corrosion is so cool. It dries with all this extra texture on it. And it doesn't look like that in the pot. Like, it looks just like homogeneous brown muck. But I hit like areas like this little piston over here, this side, and then I dry brushed on some Rise of Rust, which is cool. I hit this section with a little bit of black wash. Couple sections like the tubing and some of these piston things with Agrax Earth Shade, so you get a little bit of different hues working. I feel okay about this now, and there's obviously some warp lock bronze in a few spots. But now, as you'll see, I have this big sort of carapace plate, and it's just a lot of green. And it's obviously like intentionally not a flat finish salamander, perfect looking green. I want it to look pretty beat up. This is for a Death Guard army. Like, this thing may have been chilling out in the warp for a long time. These still both swing? They do. Yeah, the arms even move. That's cool. Actually, the whole shoulder piece comes off. Oh, it doesn't anymore. It may be stuck in there. We'll see. Well, I'll just leave it. Anyway, there's magnets underneath there. So yeah, I'm gonna hit this stuff, and then there's also a lot of real estate on these shin plates, and whatever these quad plates are. And on the sort of standard, what is it called, Knight Dominus, which you can see behind me, like, they use these big decals to sort of break up that space. I don't have that luxury because all of the decals that come with the model are good guy details. The model set is pretty good. The sprue's pretty rad. You get a bunch of extra pieces, body pieces, and a second set of weapons, which I'll do later, because I just ordered more and received some shoulder joint pieces. So the model itself gives you everything you need if it actually gave you the swivel shoulder and extra of these pieces to do, like, you could actually swap the weapons out without magnets. But of course they don't. They give you just up to a point. So so this piece is pretty much the essential part. Normally lock into this piece. Interestingly enough, it's already made with like slotting in it so that it could fit different magnets in it already and still stay closed. Pretty smart. SMRT smart. Just to give some props, this came from Wattcorp Designs. Small designs, big ideas. I think I went to probably Etsy for that. So that's how I'll do, like, this is the other weapon that's just floating around here. So this goes together. And that post goes in between there, between those two little posts, and then add a bunch of stuff. This is a harpoon. I will eventually use a build that uses the harpoon, but I think to start, it's going to be the volcano lance and whatever the other crazy thing is. Anyway, I've digressed enough. I will set a time, not a timer, I'll just hit the stopwatch for my own curiosity. And I'll start shaking. And this stuff came in the mail, so who knows how much shaking it already got. It's a good sound. Right into the mic. Always shake your stuff up. And we will get right down to it. I think the likelihood is me spilling this whole thing. With the Slimy Grime Dark, I actually have this special cup that I always dump it in. It just keeps on getting gnarlier and gnarlier. But this I'm going straight in. So this has almost a tip on it. We'll go with that. My plan here, I still might put there's an overarching piece that goes here and there, but it looks like it's just begging to break. So I may just treat those as bolts. But what I got to do, this isn't the side of a tank that's nice and flat. It's very rounded. And so I got to be sort of careful so that it sort of like makes sense and drips down a bit. There's a bunch of little bolts. I'll put a few little lines in there, here and there. But there's no time like the present to just go get at it. So, oh, this brush is terrible. You're suffering, buddy. I did wash it, but man, I may actually need to wreck a new green brush. Yeah, let's do that. I'll set this guy aside. I don't throw them out till they're absolutely dead. I'll get a new green brush. First things first. This tube that comes off of here, it's what keeps the brush safe in transit. I keep these. I will often, if I was going to put this Streak and Grime stuff in a separate little container to dip into, I would just basically use this to pull some in and then chuck it later. So I set those aside. Let's see if I can not hit this desk. There we go. New brush. New brush, new me. All right. So, got these bolty things. I'm just going to lay this in pretty heavy. Try to follow where rain and corrosion and gosh knows what might roll in. Basically all I did was like go to the website and look at their 4 picture sort of diagram, because apparently there's no real instructions that came with this little box of 3. It's really weird to me. It's like, wouldn't you want to add some instructions to it? But hey, you do you, AK. I'm the one buying your products. I love them. You don't have to change for me. It's not how love works. These should probably go down further, a little southy. Yeah, it'll just. I honestly, I've never done this, so we're just gonna do it. Just lay it on. Layer upon layer of good times. I also have these little vents. I'll just fill them up and get a couple streaks down there. Stuff doesn't look as crazy as I thought it would. Instructions are on the bottle. You really are a wizard. Welcome aboard. Apply the product to the side walls of your model. Paint fine vertical lines and later sweep the surface vertically from top to bottom of the brush, dampened with white spirit. The instructions are on the bottle. That's all you get. It's pretty good. Welcome aboard. Like I learned so much by just doing this live. I'll just dip some of that in there. This is pretty sloppy. I really genuinely don't. I'm not worried about it. It's gonna look cool. I'm gonna basically have a lot of this stuff kind of going to the same place. It looks pretty much like I'm just painting brown on this thing right now. It's kind of fine, I guess. I have no idea how much to lay this on. So we're just going to do it. You're kind of going around these little bolt things. I'm hoping that the magic is with the neutral spirits, because right now this kind of just looks like I'm painting on this guy. Hoping. There we go. Yeah, some funny little lines. I mean, looking at picture on the side, watch me dump this thing over while I look at it. Yeah, I'm definitely not doing it right, but I'm okay with it. This thing's been in the warp. I can always mineral spirit all of it off. I genuinely don't like it, I suppose. It seems like a byproduct of using this stuff. I'm not doing crazy crisp straight lines at all. I should hit more of that bolt on each one of them. I don't know. Right now, this definitely feels like the first step in a process that's supposed to look better when you're done. And that happens. There we go. I'm probably going to hit these guys too, even though they're already kind of dark. I'll just all the way up from this edge. Maybe I'll just do half of this thing and then see how I like what I've done. Oh no, I'm already all over the place. I'm already in it. These little bolty guys. I've also had some people seen what they've written online, like, oh, you should spray varnish it before you apply this stuff. I haven't done that, so that may be the first mistake. We'll find out. This definitely looks weird. This definitely looks weird. Can always slather it on and remove excess. Yeah, I have seen some really interesting pictures of like people's before and after steps of just like, oh my gosh, just like give it a dip, call it a day. A little scared of doing that, but I'm not so scared that I'm being at all precise, so I can't be exactly gripped with terror. Being not horribly conservative, I'll put it that way. Definitely not freaking out too much. Get this to sort of drip down. It is weird with it being not flat surfaces. That stuff does not look like it's going to come up. We'll find out. I did, the last thing that went on these big green spaces, with the exception of the absolute shoulder pieces, was Slimy Grime Dark. So I wonder if that at all impedes your ability to get this stuff off after the fact. We're going to find out by doing. Glop that in there into that crease. It absolutely looks like a 12-year-old did this. I have very weird feelings about this right now. Very weird. But you gotta try these things. That's the fun of it. Getting a bunch of new toys and seeing how they work. Check what my time is. It's been 10 minutes since I started. I'm not saying that I should start swiping the stuff, but it's been a reasonable chunk of time. It's funny when you're live, time goes by very strangely. I'm normally very time sensitive, and when I do this, I'm just like, what is happening? Yeah, it barely even shows up on there. Yeah, if this hoses the whole process, it's okay. I can always go back over this again. I keep vacillating between like, I'm good, I'm not good, I'm good, I'm not good. It's pretty funny. Psychology of this. I can't even see this showing up there. All right, let's go hit these shin plates. Do a big old down the bolts. These can go much more straight down. Also not clear to me how much of this you really need to paint on to get the effect, like how thickly you need to do it. But This is a weird reach. All right. All the way down this thing. Get it all in there. Should do the same on this side. Lark. And all the way down. And very much is not showing up like crazy, but I can live with that. Oh, that was a big old streak. There you go. This cod piece. This wonderful little vent system and these bolts. And then remains over here. I mean, in theory I'm doing it right. Right? All right, those are the major green bits. I'm gonna get these shoulders too. Every time you think you're done, you ain't. I do love how this stuff looks. I'd be tempted to just paint this on stuff. Oh, make it straight, straighten you out, boy. All right, so in theory, I know I haven't put a ton on here, but it's got a bunch of stripes of this stuff. In theory, it should all come off with a Q-tip. And if I'm gentle about it, it won't all come off. It'll just leave some. So I'm guessing I just want to sort of like dab and pull a little bit. Mineral spirits and mineral oil, not the same thing, right? See how it feels. No, that is weird stuff. Odorless. If you stick your finger in it and give it a big sniff, it is no longer odorless. But I'm nearing the 15-minute mark, which means, yeah, that's fumey. I'm gonna get that off my hands. Towel out for my sneaky spot. That is, whew. See, safety first all the time. Sure, just put mineral spirits directly on your hand and then give it a sniff. It's all for science. I got towels around. I'll be okay. Hide that down there. Q-tip. Get this ready for action. Give this maybe a minute or two longer. Just because once I get started, I'm going to move around the whole thing. It's been 15 minutes total since I started. So there's that. I'm excited though. This, if it works, it'll break up all of that big, hefty green real estate, which will be cool. It'll be really cool. And it'll help continue the sort of aesthetic that I've got going on the back, where I left out, there's a bunch of extra connecty bits that I'm actually leaving off for now because I'm not sure I want them. Much as you don't use the, I mean, you do you. Much as you don't have to use the faceplate to go over this. Like if you're going chaos style, you just have this ruddy looking set of optics and tubes and stuff. On the back, leaving it pretty bare of a bunch of connectors. Like obviously I put some of this stuff in. I just hit some sections with typhus, corrosion, and rust. Ryza rust. Hit some areas a little bit darker so they look greasy. Hit some areas with Warplock bronze. I'm hoping, because I feel much more confident how the back of that looks. That first pass of just making it lead belcher metallic while it went quickly, it's just a huge chunk of model. I'm hoping that this stuff will do the same for the tops and the shin guards. Moment of truth. Let's start pulling some glop out of here. Oh, that does come up. Oh, that is interesting. That does absolutely come up. I don't know that I'm going to necessarily do it right, but it comes flying off there. It fades. I don't know if that's all that visible, but it is just. Quick question. How wet should, like, am I relying on some amount of dripping for this to do its thing? Because I could just, like, dab and kind of let it go. It is definitely streaking. Like, I'm not sure if I should just really do any strong wiping. Maybe just a little. But this Q-tip is like soaked. It does look streaky though. Oh, that is so neat. Oh, ye of little faith. How do you do that? I'm literally barely tapping that thing, and it still looks garbagey in some spots, but I feel like I could get good at this. I can't tell if I'm pulling too much or too little of it off. This thing's obviously getting gnarly. Don't know how often I need to change that thing out. As much as I'm psyched, like it absolutely still looks like a kid doing this. I'm so mean to kids apparently. Keep on saying like looks like a little kid did. I'm pretty sure my little kid would do a better job than this. Oh. Yeah. Do I like it? Yes. Do I think I have my head around it? Not exactly yet. This arm of Medusa. So it absolutely like thins out. I could have laid a bunch more of that stuff on. Definitely could have. I'm not sure that I should, but I definitely went. I was conservative. Um, when you said you could just, what was the word? Yeah, slather it on, um, and then wipe it off. That is definitely the truth. I feel like if I get enough of it on this Q-tip, sort of dripping process handles a lot of the work and does it pretty organically. I haven't had to actually like treat it like an eraser. Of course, now it is like it's wet. And I'm not sure if that's appropriate for it. I just dab it. Oh, this is so cool. I mean, I think I was right to be a little scared of this. I think I was not right to be terrified of it. I think I now want some very large planks of just resin to try this out on. A little bit brazen to just straight up grab the most ambitious model I've ever made, just throw this on there, but I can't tell if it's good or not. Can't tell. But it's definitely cool. Definitely cool. I'm being so careful about it. I don't know if I'm being too careful. I mean, I obviously gotta like nudge it a bit to move this stuff around. All this color. Weird. I'm gonna end up sticking this thing in my eye. That is cool. I'm assuming, you just let this stuff evaporate off. Assuming that, I don't know if you're supposed to like dab it later. Dry it, but weird. Very interesting stuff. I swear between this and the name I always get wrong, Slimy Grime Dark, I'm quickly becoming a disciple of all this AK product line business. It is really, really cool. You can leave it. Oh, that's convenient. Missing the shot at all. Yeah, you know what? If I can leave it, then I am just gonna dab it on here and let it do its dark business. Right, yeah, the ends of these drips look terrible, but I can just scooch it around. I can definitely see where you could just pile a bunch of this on and then just wipe away. Yeah, I mean, I definitely did not do it right, and I absolutely don't care at all because it looks neat. It is definitely a learn by doing moment. I might do a second round of it at some point. I was super conservative. Get more of this stuff on here and just let it drip all over. Ugh. Fear is the mind killer. This stuff is absolutely ingenious. I was pretty careful. Forget the shins and the codpiece, buddy. I think I would draw my lines thicker but shorter, sort of take advantage of this dripping that's happening. It's neat. All right, well, while I'm here and doing this, now I gotta be careful how I grab it because I don't want to get mineral spirits all over me. I can see it. It's not like super apparent. Yeah, that needs some help. That's where I was conservative on the other end. Get it to blur nicely. I absolutely understand the draw that people have to just dunking stuff in this. It adds like an amazingly I'm not seeing any texture out of it per se because I went like super light on it, but yeah, I can roll a little harder. Man, that is neat. I would. This is one of those things I would like to actually get really good at. I'm kind of okay with my marginal skill in a lot of areas of painting. Like I'm okay with it. I hide behind my Death Guard army. You're like, wow, that thing's ugly. It's like, yeah, it's supposed to be ugly. Got it. This part to get some really good accuracy out of it. Like I can see those old wizards who do like legit tanks, boats, whatever. You just spend days on the side of a boat. Just in the spirit, pardon the pun, of experimentation and getting some use out of this. I do have this other bottle of Rust Streaks burning a hole in my pocket. Don't see any reason not to use it. Don't see any reason not to use it at all. I'm gonna shake it. I do worry about how much I gotta shake this gunk, but I guess we'll find out. I have. How am I going to grab you? Like this. I still have some space. I got plenty of metal on this thing. In fact, I got plenty of metal up here that I could rust out. And if the technique is all the same, and I got the bottle, we gonna rock it. Alright, so rust streaks. Oh, yeah, that's right, Lizard Wizard. I should read the instructions. Apply the product to the sidewalls of your model. You find vertical lines and later sweep the surface vertically from top to bottom with a brush dampened with white spirits. That's the exact same instructions. This has gotten easy. All right. So I can just. I got the shaky hands. Do you see that? I got the shaky hands. I'm just going to lay a bunch of it on this thing. The thing is, it's got mineral spirits on it already, so it's just going to thin it out. Those I may have to dab. I get a pad, just give it a little tap. Stack little makeup pads. They're cheap. They come in long tubes of them. I have actually put that in the shot. They have a side that's really good for rubbing, and they have a side that's just really good for dabbing. I dab a little here on this as well. You know what? It might not matter. Wow, stuff is pretty magical. Yeah, it's just blah, 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 blah. I think I saw a picture on Reddit of this was the stuff that somebody just absolutely dunked their models in. I was like, you go get them, Tiger. Make them things rusty. I mean, it literally looked like I think it was just a Death Guard guy with the grenade ability. I think it was one of him, and he just looked like he was just made out of rust. There we go. Glop some in there. This is, I think the fact that your technique is to erase it gives you a lot of license to just try it. And I know there's horror stories of like, if you're really not careful, you pull the paint off, but all you gotta do is be kind of like light-handed with it. I think at least. Rusty on both sides. I'll hit right around these bolts a little bit. And we're just going to find out how it handles different shapes. Because that's what we're here for science. This is neat stuff. I'm going to just dump some in there. Dump some in there. Spin this guy around. He's coming along. More than a quarter of my army. Let's hit these bolts. There we go. Yeah, I think metal texture effects is the thing I want to get properly good at. It's neat. This will take a little time to dry. If I'm careful of how I turn this, I could pick one other spot on here to do. But I'd want to pick something that's got some like vertical run for it, and that's already too close to that over there. You know what? I might be covered. I might be trying too hard. That happens. I won't feel bad about that, but it could happen. You know what? Let's just find out. Just hit this thing. Yeah, because it's good and side facing. Hit the top of this and then blow on both sides. Just act like these got leaks in them or something. Yeah, because they're like gears. They get rusty. They got rusty gears. Pure chaos. All right. So I do need to give that a minute to dry. Just a bit. So I can see where I didn't do amazingly well, but it makes sense. I think I definitely wanted almost absolute straight lines, which is tough because this thing's curved. And I was trying to like meet the curvature of stuff. But it repaired a lot of my garbage, which is high marks for technique. Very high marks. I am going to go back now that I've seen it sort of in action and do a little bit more cleanup. Yeah, so these spots, yeah, it could be a little cleaned up. A little more dabbing. I could definitely get this right at some point. I can definitely see how you could just lay a bunch on and then just pull through. Yeah, I'll give this a second to dry, but I will try. I like science. I wonder what happens if you don't always have to just burn your model to experiment. But clearly, I'm very comfortable with that. I wonder if it'll come off of this artboard. Wow, it sinks right in there. That is interesting. I don't think it's going to come off. I don't think you will. It's probably a bad experiment. Should grab a piece of plastic or something. That's right, brush. Doing you dirty. Just a cap for that. The true experiment here is, does this stuff come off of this? If it does. Ooh. Well, it does come off of this, but it does soak in enough where it's not a really valid experiment. I need a resin plate to really practice this, but it's interesting because you can see if I just add a lot of liquid. Oh, that is interesting. Let's see if I can get closer here. How to hold this. Like you can see that it's grabbing a certain amount, whatever sort of pigmentish thing is in there, just running with it. That is cool. All right, well, with that in mind, I'm going to chuck that out. Man, that will fume the daylights out of me if I sit here in front of it. With that in mind, look through here. I don't think it looks terrible. It just doesn't look like how I expected. It doesn't react how I expected either. I think you can absolutely get away with putting a pretty honking amount in there and letting the drips go. I just don't know if I need to just like release control. Just let Nurgle do his thing. Spots that I don't like, you get more than one crack at to sort of thin out. But now it's like, as I take more swings at it, it gets thinner and thinner to the point where it's like, have you even done anything? Very cool stuff. Man, I have learned so much with this flipping model. All right, I will give the rust a few minutes. Maybe set this guy aside, see if I have a side project I can do. That is not one of them. I'm not comfortable just winging it on that gun. I am comfortable with potentially putting a little bit more shiny glowy stuff on this gun, because I went over the translucent stuff that I had with what was the yellower stuff, Bad Moon Yellow, because it's brighter. My first pass was this Acid Rain stuff just over the metallized primer. That didn't show through enough. Added some white. Take it easy, Lizard. Went back over it again. Then I was like, I'll add some Averland Sunset. That'll make it yellower. Went over it again. And then finally like landed on Bad Moon Yellow, which is contrast, which is good because it's nice and loose. So I've got this glow effect going. It's kind of just yellow. So at the very least, I think I can risk. I can use this guy brush. Yeah, you'll be fine. This just gets dabbed. Grab my, yeah, this guy. Nope, not really into tie-dye. Not really that much into fidget spinners. But it does give you an entirely reusable little paint palette. And when stuff dries, you can just boop, pop it out. And then it's clean again. I've still got one more hole. I'm still going to give you about 5 minutes, buddy. This is good and all shook up. Boop. Going through so much of this. This is supposed to go through an airbrush. I don't care because I bought it because a friend said it was neat. I'm impressionable and I do like it. You can actually see on camera a little bit. It's just like swirling inside of this thing. It is like alive. It's like made out of the warp. Let me see if I can tilt it at all. That's a bad idea. But it's like, it's got movement constantly. So swirl this thing around. I'm just trying to dab this in like a wash. It will have different, it'll refract or reflect light differently depending on the angle. This will hopefully, yeah, just getting in those creases, just letting it work on its own. This will hopefully be the case where when the model's on the table, depending on the angle you look at it, the sort of gun effect is a little bit different, shiny, warpy. Because it's all these successive seams, all you have to do is really just touch the brush. It'll take the liquid all the way down, or most of the way down. You gotta dab it a few times. I do think this is stronger this way. Just gotta find a good angle to hit it from. Whoop. Nice and gentle. And this is actually lacquer. So I've hit this model with acrylic, lacquer, enamel, mineral spirits, God knows whatever else. It's kind of extra. All right, so, and this is my first sort of glow effect that I ever tried. Is it great? Not really. Is it bad? No, it's not terrible. I'm happy with it. But this stuff is super shiny. Yeah, and with yellow behind it, it pops a lot more. Just dabbing it in there like it's a wash, even though it isn't. It's a lacquer. It's really crazy. What is this? Where's this place from? SMS. Color Shift Acid Rain. I think part of the reason I'm using this is I don't know any better, but I like it. I'm not using a ton of it. My original plan is I thought I was going to do whole panels. But either my wisdom or my cowardice checked that plan when I actually took some out of the bottle and was like, whoa, this is crazy. But this may not show up on camera, but it absolutely has like a sparkly sheen to it. I need better lights. You poor people. Maybe people are gonna go blind watching me do my funny little painting, song, and dance. Stir this stuff up. Just get more of it on there. It's basically I think it's called a Keller shift paint lacquer. All right, that's probably pretty good. I could set you down. I do have example. Are you gonna sit? You gonna sit, little magnetized gun? Yeah, you are gonna sit. So on the back of this, oh, it's actually got some tape on it. It's like really sparkly nail polish, but it is like entirely. I think it's entirely. I can't tell. There's got to be like some amount of grit in it. It's not quite like a metallic paint. So this one goes from like sort of ruddy, clear reddish to like a yellowish sort of thing, depending on how your eye and the light hits it. I have no idea if the camera actually captures that at all. I'm sorry if I'm putting you guys through absolute hell with that. I mean, I can see on my monitor-ish, but I can't see if it's actually representative. But it's neat. It's really neat stuff. So yeah, it goes like at a low angle. It's absolute. It's like almost. It's thin. You can see through it, but the reflection is like blood red, and then it goes to like a shiny yellowish with some weird green in it. That's acid rain for you. I'll hide this guy back here. I think it's been enough time for me to come back to my rust and hit it with some mineral spirits. Away we go. This stuff is fun. This stuff is so much fun. It's also just super neat for me because this model's massive. So it is, let's see if I can get a decent look at this. One of the things this Rust does, and the Grime does as well, but I'm basically just sitting on a band of space with some bolts on it. Is not unlike a wash. Once you hit it with the mineral spirits, a lot more of the pigment or whatever coloration, I don't know if it's technically pigment or not, it hugs the side of the bolt, so you get that natural sort of ring around it, and it clears out and pours. That is dope, man. People are so smart. People are so smart. Yeah, awesome. All right, so I'll get some of these vents, rub that in there a little bit. That stuff will go where it needs to go. Turn it this way a bit. Scooch in there. I like this rust, though. I like this rust. Ditch that guy. Get yourself a lot of Q-tips. No, they're not a sponsor. Just letting the liquid do its thing and just pull stuff. That is dope. Now I'm just finding spots where I was a little heavy-handed. But yeah, the actual rust-colored material will hug onto the edge of the bolts nicely, I might add. You get these little rings of color. Look around. Pretty decent shape. These guys could use a little love in the front. Wow. What a subtle difference. I could have been way more heavy-handed with this. I'm glad I wasn't. But I had room. It immediately just breaks everything up. So this was it wasn't quite like a matte finish green, but it was exceedingly consistent. It was like Space Marine has a serf polishing their equipment till the end of time. And I don't want this because it's a freaking Chaos Knight. This is definitely done what I needed to do. As much as I could do better at it, I am happy with the result, and I will definitely use this a lot more. I think, yeah, it's interesting. I was very, very light with it in that first run, and now I'm sort of like, go any heavier? I don't think so for now. I think we're in a pretty good spot with this. Where else could I use it? Where else could I get some action out of this? Yeah. Maybe these guns. Maybe these guns could use some. You know what? I'm going to stick with rust because I like it. I like it a lot. I love rust. These gun port thingies, not ports, the vents around there. Sure, you use some rust. Nobody takes care of anything in the warp. Just lay that on there a little bit. Oh, I hit you, buddy. Careful. Rusty Guns McGee on the scene. This time, because these guys I'm not too worried about, I will just slather on a decent amount here. This will be my experiment. These two tiny guns will be like, how much of this stuff can you throw on and keep your dignity? Dignity I never had. Alrighty. This guy flip. I'm not going to go too much on the bottom. Now, what I want to see here is when I hit it with that mineral spirits, how much does it drag with it? Drag down. Alright. So those guns will be gross. Absolutely disgusting. Man, I am 555 points of army. It is a little fumy in this corner. I would, if you haven't used this stuff before, consider ventilation. I'm past my prime. I've had all the children I'm going to have. I really want a space with a hood in it. I'll be fine. So I'm just giving this a few seconds to dry up. More than a few seconds. I'd probably give it 2 or 3 minutes, but its ability to absolutely weather is one thing, but to get a lot of like just contrast, not for free. There's some things you can do righter than others, but it dirties it up really, really good. I have not had a miss with a single thing from AK. Like some Citadel color stuff I like. Some of it I'm kind of like, eh. Oh yeah, I do need to do some dabbing. It is pulling a little bit in some spots I don't want it to. But it's a dirty model, it's fine. Some Citadel stuff is great, some not so much. Viejo's been pretty consistent, but I think you have to be a little bit better at mixing colors than I am. I'm marginal. Um, but the stuff from both of those that I like. But everything from AK has just been like spot on, gross, disgusting grime work. I mean, example, like basically how I get the green on all of these guys. I'm trying to find the actual height at which it'll be in focus. That's probably fine. All my Plague Marines, which is obviously why this guy has this paint job. Like they get a really dark, matted, not just matte finish, but like thick green to them. Because their base coat is Death Guard green, just the primer, and then with a few layers of the slimy grime dark, has so much material gunk floating around in it that it doesn't get boring. Basically, and it doesn't. It's not mistakable for something with clean sight lines. Keeps the eye moving. My boy Typhus. This guy was hard. I learned a lot. Yeah, he does have a grimy ultramarine helmet in his hand. That's where he got the head from. That was fun. Some locally sourced maggots. He's got glitter coming out of his destroyer hive. All the bugs have glitter, and the warp stuff has glitter in it. I need to get like a super bright light so it shows off. Yeah, he turned out cool, but basically all these guys have gotten that slimy grime. And now that I've got this streaking grime in my toolbox, I definitely want to use it more. I couldn't have used it on the meat wagon. It wouldn't have made any sense there. Still drying. But meat wagon was a little special. Plague burst crawler that looks like it's made out of old steak. Straight up meat. I don't know what possessed me to do this. Man, it's an early model. Not that I have any experience. I've been doing this for like 4 months, but like seeing the seam in there, just like, but it's cool. It turned out. Can't wait to use it. Alright. So because I'm horribly impatient. Ooh, oh, I take it back. The other thing that could have used a bunch of streaking grime, this is just covered in typhus corrosion. Dry brushed with some Rhiza rust. But this I may actually go back to and streak some grime on it. This could absolutely use it because this looks rough. It's pretty gnarly looking. That was very new. I'll just say that. And I'm pleased with some of the stuff I learned. This is how I learned how to do heavily laden rust. But the actual wall work on there is pretty heavy-handed usage of it. All right. Just how much breathing room does this thing need? Don't know. All right, I'm going to let my impatience be my guide. Because this does mean I'm precariously close. This stuff is evaporating off. It takes a while. It's got a strange oiliness to it. It's like a solvent lubricant. I'm just lightly dabbing. I'm squeezing a little bit out, getting enough on there. It's SMRT smart, in case it drips, which it probably will, and I won't drip it all over the base. I'm just pushing down on this and letting the liquid of the mineral spirits, as I approach it from many angles, just pull some of this stuff with it. And obviously, as you dab, some of it ends up on the Q-tip. Some of it just runs. There you go. Cover your shoes up, buddy. Just dabbing and dabbing and dabbing. If I spin them around, I should find spots I did on the side. God, I'm so good at forgetting things. In doing so, I probably could have let that dry a little longer. It does streak pretty nicely. Oh, I touched something weird. It's a little tuft of grass that I put in there. That was intentional. All right, so I don't want to turn this too much, but use my trusty tweezers at some point because a little bit of Q-tip got stuck in there. I just touch the bottom of these guys. Yeah, so they're not soaking. Touch the bottom of that one so it's not soaking. Now I can actually show it to you. Like those guns look rusty now. Like supremely rusty. And I have some cleanup work to do underneath there on those anyway, but they're probably just going to get rusted out. I would probably just do that. This is cool stuff. It does seem like it's ceased its dripping enough. I can do a decent show and tell. Dab a little more. Yeah, there we go. Gently. Where are your guns? My guns stick on. Where are your guy strike missiles? Boop, they stick on the top. What if you want to switch them? Oh, I can switch them. My toys switch up. Yeah, you're good on that arm. Yeah, it's got a little shinier. You can actually see the. Let me just put my finger over that. You can see the reflection now, more so. The grooves of this thing. I'm gonna break this thing while I talk. That worked out. Stick this one on. Happy robot. Then I can do my little show and tell dance. Is that on there? There we go. Now it's on there. It's wobbling. All right. And there you have it. Magnetized, desensitized, based. I learned. What did I learn? All kinds of stuff. I learned streaking this time around. Got magnetization in. That took a couple different tries. I did sponge work. Did a whole ton of rust work on it. It's my first big model. I'm pleased. And now I can put him proudly. I'm going to find a nerdling to put on his shoulder at some point, but I got to get my hands on one. I haven't been able to. I should have kept one. I should have kept the one from the Tally Man. He's awesome. But he's good with the Tally Man too. I can put this guy looming over my dope army. That gets me, I think realistically, to basically scooch him into the camera shot. I get rid of the box. Yeah. Gets me to about 1,000 points. One model to finish in my combat patrol to make it like, yeah, I know. Yeah, thanks, Pyrrha. One model to finish in my combat patrol, and I got to relook up the points because they just changed them like a week ago. And I can go learn to play with that. But then I'm pretty much at 1,000 point army with all this stuff. Probably have to take a little bit out, but could do it. I just need 1,000 more points to play a real game, which would be great. I have a miasmic malignifier, which comes in at like 130 or 150 on its own. I got plans for 3 Chaos Lords not in Terminator armor. Those are a little bit expensive. And probably at least one more Plague Burst Crawler, one more tank, maybe 2 more. But yeah, we're getting there. And this, I need a name. If anyone thinks of a name, they can just put it in a comment. I need a name for the big guy, but he's going to run interference for all my little dudes scrambling around. He's a big threat. He's basically out there to, I don't know, shoot Gilliman or other vehicles or whatever. But anyhow, it has been real fun, real good learning. And I appreciate you hanging out. I am going to sign off and go get some fresh air because it's pretty stinky in here. It smells like mineral spirits and lacquer. Thanks a bunch, folks. Have a good night. Bye bye.